Act like you're a millionaire. 7 brutal truths about manifesting your dream life now. The night sky crackled with electric anticipation. Neon signs swung in the wind, flickering like the pulse of a deep secret ready to be unleashed. This wasn't just another Friday night in the heart of Manhattan, it was the launchpad for 7 untold truths that could shake your very foundation. If you ever dared to dream big, now was the time to feel the quake of reality. Jessica stood outside the sprawling cityscape, chest tight, a knot forming in her throat. She could see the glossy high-rise towers, shimmering like the ghostly figures of millionaires who wouldn't let her into their world. She couldn't shake the feeling that beyond those gleaming facades lay a darkness, a truth buried just beneath the surface. Rumor had it that inside one of those fancy buildings, an exclusive group met every month. They called themselves the Manifestation Society. Their faces, obscured behind velvet curtains and champagne toasts, whispered of success so sweet it could rot your soul. Jessica had tried everything. Vision boards, daily affirmations, even pretending to befriend those who thrived in the crème de la crème of society. Yet, every time she reached out, laughter echoed back in the void, reminding her of everything she wasn't. But tonight, she was determined to unravel what they knew, to summon the power of their secrets no matter the cost. Nerves danced in her stomach as she climbed the steps to the venue. Each click of her heels on the marble floor felt like a countdown to an inevitable explosion of truth or disaster. The room pulsed with the energy of ambition, crying laughter and hollow cheers melded into a dizzying symphony. She caught snippets of conversation, words like money magnet and universe's favor swirled around her. But there was an undercurrent, an urgency simmering in voices that hinted at hidden prices, people paying more than just money to achieve their dreams. As she scanned the crowd, she noticed a figure in the back, shadowy and enigmatic, their glass of red wine glistening like blood under the dim lights. Who were they? Were they a millionaire? Or someone who had paid dearly for a taste of this extravagant lifestyle? Breathing deeper, she felt a wave of hope wash over her. Maybe she could learn the truth from them, whatever it was. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jessica's heart raced, the pulse of urgency driving her forward. What if the mystery figure held the key? She could almost reach out, her trembling hands inching toward them. Little did she know, the answers were not just waiting to be revealed, they would come with consequences that would rattle her world to its core. As she approached, the crowd thickened with tension. Every glance, every muttered word felt charged with the weight of truth and untruth. She had to know, even if the price was deeper than she could imagine. What price would she pay for those secrets? As the figure turned slightly, Jessica's breath caught and the glint in their eye sparked a possibility she had never anticipated. Was she about to unearth something extraordinary, or rip open a wound she could never mend? Jessica steadied her breath as she crossed the crowded room. The dull thrum of champagne-filled chatter faded, replaced by the pulse of her own heartbeat thrumming in her ears. The figure in the corner, still partially shrouded in shadow, sipped their wine slowly, deliberately, as if savoring the moment before revealing a hidden truth. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper, her desire to know blending with fear. The figure chuckled, a low, smooth sound that sent shivers down her spine. With a flick of their wrist, they gestured for her to approach. As she drew closer, the dim light illuminated sharp features forming a mask of calm. He leaned forward, and Jessica recognized him. Oliver Kane, a name whispered in the same breath as success and wealth. The founder of several high-profile companies, his reputation hovered somewhere between celebrity and enigma. "I see you've come for answers," he said, his eyes pinning hers with an intensity that held her captive. "But understand, this knowledge comes with sacrifice. Jessica felt her chest tighten. Sacrifice. The word echoed in her mind, reverberating through the haze of the loud room, swirling with glamour and illusions. She had been preparing for a price, but she didn't realize it could be so hauntingly ambiguous. What kind of sacrifice? She managed to ask, her heart hammering wildly. He smiled grimly, swirling the red liquid in his glass. Some pay with money, some with secrets. Others, well, they pay with their very essence. She looked around at the elite mingling, laughter punctuating the air like gunshots, a facade of joy, but beneath it, she sensed a palpable tension. What had they sacrificed for riches they flaunted so casually? Was it worth it? Jessica's mind raced. You're implying they give up pieces of themselves. Dreams twisted into obsessions. Relationships dying for wealth. His voice dripped with a mixture of disdain and sorrow, as if he had somehow witnessed it all. And yet, the allure of wealth keeps drawing them back in. A solitary chill gripped her, sharper than the December air. The stories she'd heard of the elite's dark dealings didn't seem so far-fetched now. But I want to understand how to manifest success without sacrificing everything. Can you? That's the real question. Oliver's gaze softened, almost compassionate. But I may offer you a glimpse. The entry price is steep. What is it? She asked, unable to contain her curiosity, even as dread coiled in her stomach. You must play a game, he replied enigmatically, his voice dropping as he leaned closer. A game to reveal the truth about those who possess what you seek, and it's a dangerous one. A game? Her heart raced with excitement, yet she felt a thick cloud of danger hovering around the prospect. What must I do? Meet me tomorrow night at Baxter's club. Bring your ambition and be ready to face the darkness within. A moment of silence stretched between them. Jessica felt gravity shift, her resolve hardening even in the face of uncertainty. This was her chance. A door creaked open into a world of shadows and secrets. As Oliver melted back into the crowd, Jessica's pulse soared. She was either stepping into a dream opportunity or heading straight for oblivion. Be careful what you wish for, she murmured under her breath as she turned to leave. What truth awaited her at Baxter's? And would the price she had to pay be worth the discovery? The air was thick with anticipation as Jessica stood outside Baxter's club. Neon lights flickered, casting eerie shadows over the pavement. She glanced at the watch on her wrist. 7:59 p.m. Exactly 1 minute to go. Her heart raced, skipping like a broken record. Sleep had eluded her the entire night, thoughts of Oliver and his cryptic invitation swirling through her mind. Taking a deep breath, she straightened her back and pushed through the heavy doors. The bass thumped against her chest, reverberating through the dimly lit room full of people lost in their own world, some laughing, others locked in deep conversation. It felt like walking into a dream that mingled with anxiety. As she stepped in, she noticed the decor, rich mahogany, gold accents, and dark velvet curtains. But it was the faces that captured her attention. These were the people Oliver alluded to, the ones who traded parts of themselves for riches and fame. Their smiles were effortless, but Jessica sensed an undercurrent of desperation, like a dam ready to break. Jessica. A sharp voice cut through the ambience. Her muscles tensed as she turned to face a tall man in a tailored suit, his grin wide enough to reveal sharp, pearly white teeth. Ryan, she replied, forcing a smile. It was her ex, now shining like the rest of them. What are you doing here? Oh, you know how it is. Just enjoying all the finer things. Heard you were trying to make waves in the business world, he said, leaning against the wall, oozing charm. Is it all worth it? The sleepless nights. She wanted to say she was pursuing her dreams, that she wouldn't let anything hold her back. But Ryan's question dug deep, planting a seed of doubt. I'm just exploring, she answered lamely, her heart fluttering at the thought of what she was stepping into. As Ryan chatted away, Jessica glanced around. The clock above the bar chimed 8. Where was Oliver? Suddenly, a figure moved through the crowd, cutting through the glitter like a knife. Oliver, dressed in a sharp black suit, his presence commanding, her breath caught in her throat. He glanced around the room until his eyes locked onto hers, a flash of something triumph. Interest sparked in his expression before he gestured her over. "Welcome, Jessica," he said, his voice low and inviting as she joined him. "Are you ready to play?" "Play what?" The question slipped out before she could stop it. "Tonight, we're peering beneath the surface." As he spoke, the mood shifted palpably. The laughter faded into the discord of murmurs and clinking glasses. "We'll see what lengths people will go to reveal their true desires." "What do you mean?" she asked, suddenly sweating under the pressure of expectations that he nodded towards a small raised platform in the corner of the club. "That's where it starts. A dare, a reveal. It's not just about ambition, it's about facing what you truly want, or fear." Jessica felt her stomach flutter with unease. The stakes were rising, and whatever game Oliver had in mind felt twisted. "And if I don't want to?" His smile faded slightly, and she felt the chill of his intensity. "Then you'll walk away. But you might miss the chance of a lifetime." A mix of dread and excitement surged within her. Could she afford to walk away now? She longed for success but feared the unknown that would accompany it. "Let us see if you're ready," he urged, drawing her closer to the platform. The crowd dimmed into a murmur, eyes fixating on them. Jessica breathed deeply, her heartbeat an echo in the expected silence. What truth awaited her on that stage? Would the price be too much to pay? As she stepped forward, a hush fell over the crowd, a collective breath held in anticipation, and she felt a weight settle on her shoulders. "Dare to reveal yourself," Oliver murmured, a challenge lacing his words. What hidden stories would emerge from the shadows? And when the lights flickered, would she recognize her own soul reflected in them? Jessica's thoughts spun as she stepped onto the stage, her legs trembling slightly. The spotlight washed over her and the noise of the club faded, reduced to a dull, throbbing pulse in the background. All eyes were on her, and she could almost feel their expectations pressing in. "What's it going to be?" Oliver's voice sliced through the silence. He leaned against the railing with an air of confidence, an artist watching his masterpiece unfold. The platform felt small beneath her feet. She cleared her throat, her mouth suddenly dry. The murmurs rose again, curiosity spiraling into a fervor. The faces in the crowd looked expectant, intrigue painted in shades of lust, greed, and envy. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. "Tell us about your biggest secret, the one nobody knows," Oliver prompted, his gaze piercing through her, urging her to speak. The question hung heavy in the air. Could she? Her heart hammered against her ribcage like a frightened bird. The room watched, almost holding its breath. Could she expose herself like that? What would it mean for her in this world of ruthless ambition? "Go on, Jess. Show us your truth," Ryan called from the front, a sly smile pulling at his lips. There was a mockery in his tone, and it ignited a flash of anger in her. Without thinking, she took a step forward. "I'm terrified of failure." The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, surprise settling over them like a blanket. A pause ensued. Would they applaud her honesty, or would they relish in the weakness she'd just revealed? Jessica locked eyes with Oliver, who looked pleased, a spark of approval glimmering in his eyes. "Now, that's a bold start. But are you ready to dig deeper?" he urged, leaning closer as if they shared a secret. "Dig deeper?" she echoed, her breath catching. "Yes. We're just scratching the surface. You must shed more than just fear. What else hides beneath the veneer? What is it you truly desire?" He stepped aside, giving her the spotlight, the focus tightening around her like a noose. Jessica stared at the crowd, the thrill of vulnerability dousing her in sudden heat. I want to succeed at something that matters. To not be average, to be someone." Her voice trembled at the last word, a divulgence almost lost in the tumult of emotions. The crowd responded with a mix of gasps and a smattering of applause. She stood there, a paradox, the realization of strength and fear clashing within. Oliver smiled, but it was twisted, as if her confession fed his ambition more than her own. "And what will you sacrifice for that success?" he asked, the intensity in his voice commanding the room's attention. "Anything," she breathed, her confidence building, but dread tickled at her spine. "Anything? What could that possibly mean in this world?" "Then it's time for the true test," he declared, his voice booming. "A choice, a dare." The crowd leaned in, excitement crackling around them. "I dare you to take someone else's truth, what? And reveal it to the crowd." Everything inside her screamed to refuse. She searched the faces, the anticipation glaring back at her. A sickening churn rose in her stomach. She could tear someone's secret into pieces, or walk away, but all she saw were the desperation and hunger haunting the eyes around her. "Choose wisely," Oliver challenged, the glimmer of control evident in his demeanor. "Reveal a truth, and own your place among the ambitious." Jessica's breath quickened, panic threatening to drown her. She had stumbled into a lion's den, and Oliver was watching, waiting. If she backed down now, would it end her chance? Or would it cost her more than she dared sacrifice? "Who will it be?" The audience's murmurs escalated, awaiting her decision like vultures hovering over prey. As she stood on the precipice of destruction and redemption, the question loomed: what dark truth would she unearth, and at what cost? The crowd's intensity prickled the back of her neck. Would she become a player in Oliver's twisted game, or walk away with her dignity intact? The moment felt electric. Charged with danger and desire, threatening to unravel everything she thought she knew about herself. Jessica hesitated, the choice weighing on her like a lead anchor. Would she find her own truth in tearing someone else's apart? The air thrummed with tension. What lay at the end of her decision? Would she emerge unscathed, or would the revelation tear her apart? The moment stretched infinitely as Jessica scanned the crowd, eyes darting from face to face. Each expression was a different shade of hunger, each mind a ticking clock waiting, calculating. What would happen next? The stakes had never felt so real. "Pick someone, Jessica." Ryan shouted, his voice dripping with a mix of excitement and malice. "Time's running out." The words echoed in her mind like a countdown, amplifying the tension in the room. She felt cornered, like a rabbit caught in headlights, ready to bolt in any direction, yet paralyzed by indecision. But then her gaze landed on someone, Carmen, leaning against the bar, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders, a mixture of curiosity and defiance in her eyes. Carmen had always been the enigmatic one, weaving through the crowd like a shadow, quietly absorbing secrets but sharing none. She was ambitious, lethal in her own right, and Jessica remembered every time she overheard whispers of Carmen's past, the betrayals, the struggles, the fierce determination to climb to the top at any cost. The crowd's murmurs swelled, the air electric with anticipation. "Carmen." Jessica's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried. The moment she said the name, the room fell into a charged silence. A smirk tugged at the corners of Carmen's lips, but there was a flicker of something deeper, vulnerability perhaps. Even in the darkness, her gaze held a mirror to Jessica's fear. But it was too late to turn back. Jessica took a breath, steeling her resolve. "I dare to uncover a secret of Carmen's truth that resonates beyond her poised facade." The gasps from the audience flooded the room like a shockwave. Jessica met Oliver's eyes. He was leaning back, a satisfied grin spreading across his face, reveling in the chaos that unfurled. "Bravo! This just got interesting," he declared with a flourish, as if the stage were set for an epic showdown. Carmen straightened, her expression hardening into a mask of defiance. "You think you can play this game? You don't know me." The challenge hung in the air, thick with tension. A moment passed. Jessica felt their eyes dancing between them, curiosity, confrontation, and unexpected camaraderie mingling into a potent cocktail of emotions. "What's your biggest mistake, Carmen?" Jessica pressed, her heart racing. "What's something you regret deeply?" A flicker dashed across Carmen's features, and for the briefest moment, uncertainty clouded her eyes. Then, as if bolstered by the sudden spotlight, she clenched her fists, defiance reigniting within her. "I regret trusting people," she shot back, venom lacing her tone. "All that ambition, all that climbing, and it led me to betrayal my friends turned foes." The crowd was enraptured, whispering feverishly. Jessica noticed the change. Carmen was revealing a piece of herself, raw and charged, a crack in her armor. Yet it was not enough. Oliver's challenge hung heavy. There had to be more. "Is that it?" Jessica pressed, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Or is there a deeper truth? What really keeps you up at night?" Carmen's mask often slipped, revealing vulnerability. This was a pivotal moment. "You want my truth? My father left me when I was a child. He said I was too ambitious. Too much like him. So I buried that girl deep down. I thought if I succeeded, it would be enough, but it's never enough." Gasps erupted, and Jessica felt the weight of the revelation settle over her. This was more than just a secret. It was a glimpse into the heart of someone who had fought tooth and nail, and lost pieces along the way. In the silence that followed, Jessica realized she was in deeper waters than she had anticipated. The crowd hung on both their words. Tension crackled between the two women, an unexpected alliance forged in the chaos of ambition and vulnerability. "What will you do with that truth, Jess?" Oliver's voice broke the heavy silence, a glint of challenge sparking in his eyes. Jessica's heart pounded. Would she continue to unravel Carmen's layers, or back down now before the storm raged further? Did she have the capacity to lift someone else and risk her own standing? As the crowd held its breath, Jessica faced a choice bigger than she had ever imagined. In the battle of secrets and sacrifices, who would emerge victorious? Would she lose herself in the fire, or would this truth ignite a new path? The air thickened, destiny awaited her next move. How far can you go when your aim is to rise, rise, rise? And at what cost? Jessica felt the tension snag at her chest, almost choking her as she weighed her options. The eyes of the crowd burned into her, anticipation blending with something darker, expectation, desire for the next twist in the game. She swallowed hard, her mind racing. If she went any deeper with Carmen, there was no turning back. Yet, somewhere in her gut, she felt a connection beyond the chaos, a shared struggle. Carmen's eyes glimmered, challenging, daring. "What else do you want from me, Jessica? Do you want the cute little sob story? Or are you just itching for blood?" The crowd shifted, whispers bloomed like weeds, and before Jessica could respond, Oliver stepped into the spotlight, a theatrical grin plastered on his face. "Let us not forget the rules. This isn't just about secrets, is it? It's about sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice, ladies?" Jessica's heart thundered. She glanced at Carmen, whose face flashed with anger but also fear. This was it. She could strip away the layers and expose the truth, but at what expense? What if the sacrifice was too great? Carmen spoke, voice low yet fierce. "You want sacrifice? My entire life has been one of sacrifice. Friends, relationships, trust. All of it for success. And what do I have to show for it? Just a lonely throne." The crowd erupted again, some nodding in agreement, others recoiling. But beneath her bravado, Carmen's words dripped with pain. The vulnerability was raw, and it pulled Jessica closer. Would this moment slip through her fingers, or could she seize it to bridge the gap between them? "Carmen, what if you didn't have to be lonely?" Jessica could hardly recognize her own voice, trembling with a mix of hope and fear. What if letting someone in could change everything? A heavy silence fell. It felt as if time had stopped, two ambitious spirits caught in a moment that could redefine them. Carmen stared, her vulnerability flickering like a candle in the dark, revealing cracks in her hardened facade. "You think I've never tried? Trust doesn't come easy for me, Jess." Oliver interjected, leaning in, excitement crackling in the air. And isn't that the ultimate sacrifice? To trust? To let someone else in? But the question is, who's willing to take that leap? The crowd buzzed again, tension rising palpably. Jessica took a step closer to Carmen, feeling an electric charge dance between them. Maybe it's time to redefine your throne. Not just with power, but with connection. You don't have to face your battles alone. Carmen's expression wavered, caught between defiance and something like longing. The crowd was silent, each person holding their breath, captivated by the push and pull of this moment. Jessica felt the weight of judgment, but she pushed forward. What did she have to lose, after all? Let's change the game then, Carmen finally said, her voice steady, embering with newfound strength. If we're going to trust, it means revealing more. It's not just my truth at stake here. What about yours, Jessica? Jessica's stomach nodded. What are you asking for? Your biggest fear. Your deepest regret. A sacrifice to match mine. Carmen's gaze pierced through the crowd's noise. It felt like a dare, igniting something fierce deep within Jessica. The stakes had shot up. This was more than a game. It was a reckoning. Could she share the truth that had haunted her? Before she could respond, Oliver clapped his hands, cutting across the tension. That's the spirit. The game just elevated now. We're not just talking secrets, it's about facing what makes us human. Jessica felt heat rush to her cheeks. Each heartbeat thundered in her ears, drowning out everything, and she realized the game had escalated, spinning wildly out of control. Would she reveal her vulnerability? In this arena of ambition and scars, could she afford to bare her soul? Let's see what you're made of, Jessica, Carmen said, pushing forward, an unexpected ally in a twisted game. The crowd's energy shifted, and everything felt on the cusp, poised to explode. Jessica took a deep breath, her heart racing toward an uncertain fate. What could she reveal that would change everything? In the eye of this storm, she looked into Carmen's eyes and prepared to leap into the void of truth. Would she take the ultimate risk, or would fear hold her back once again? The next revelation was within reach, but it wasn't just her own truth that hung in the balance. Would she unravel her own darkness or hold it tightly, locked away? There was no telling what would spill out next. Jessica's heart raced as she felt all eyes steady on her, every person in that crowd leaning forward, waiting for the words to pour out of her. The weight of them felt suffocating. Around her, the murmurs fell to a hush, like the world had disappeared and all that remained was her and the mounting pressure. What truth would spill out when she opened her mouth? A lump lodged in her throat. She could hear a clock ticking in her mind, seconds slipping away. Was this moment the ultimate test of courage? She glanced back at Carmen, those fierce eyes still locked on her. There was a challenge there, yes, but also something else, a spark of understanding. Fine, Jessica whispered, the word barely escaping her lips. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, to count all the ways her life had conspired against her. My deepest regret. She hesitated, the words clawing their way up. I once hurt someone I loved because I was scared. Scared of not being enough, scared of the future. I pushed them away when all they wanted was to be there for me. The silence grew thicker, every breath in the crowd seeming synchronized with her doom-laden confession. There was a slight quiver in her voice, each word plucking at an unseen string of emotion that vibrated through the air. The regret felt alive, pressing against her chest, fresh and raw despite the time that had passed. Jessica looked at Carmen's expression. For the first time, she saw the fleeting softness in it, the tension easing as they connected over shared pain. Maybe, just maybe, this sacrifice wasn't just hers to bear. Oliver stepped up, eyes gleaming with excitement. The stakes just intensified. Who's next? He pointed toward the crowd, and she could see the thrill in their faces, their hunger for more, but for Jessica, it felt like she stood on the precipice of a cliff, teetering. The crowd's energy vibrated with anticipation, heightening the tension that crackled between her and Carmen. Carmen, she hesitated, searching for words that could convey the strength she hoped to foster between them. Trust me, you can let someone in. Carmen's defenses shifted slightly, the challenge in her gaze softening. Was there a flicker of hope? The crowd surged with murmurs again, like a tide. Some urged Carmen to speak, while others leaned back with crossed arms, waiting for her response. Letting someone in, Carmen murmured, taking a breath heavy with unspoken fears. It's not just a leap, Jessica. Sometimes it feels like falling into an abyss. Her voice wavered, betraying the cool facade as uncharacteristic vulnerability leached through. Life is full of abyss, Carmen, Jessica replied, emboldened. We can't avoid it. But what if we chose to jump together? A silence enveloped them, the weight of uncharted emotions hanging heavy in the air. Carmen's facade cracked wider as she let out a chuckle, but it was a broken laugh, laced with something deeper. You think you understand me? Maybe you don't know what it's like to have everything at stake. Then let me in, Carmen. Show me what you've sacrificed. Jessica's challenge was low, not demanding, but inviting. Something shifted in the atmosphere, and the crowd felt electric, their anticipation thick enough to slice. This was not just about secrets anymore, it was about something more powerful, connective threads binding them in their humanity. As Carmen held Jessica's gaze, the air vibrated with possibilities. Then Carmen's lips twisted into a hesitant smile, the bleakness in her eyes dimming ever so slightly. All right, let us see where this leap takes us. Just then, Oliver's voice boomed through the air, cutting through the tender moment. You're in for a real twist. But remember, the more you reveal, the more you risk. What are you willing to lose? The crowd erupted again, an electrifying wave surging through them. Jessica felt her pulse quicken, but it wasn't fear she felt this time, it was a reckless thrill. Would they expose their darkest shadows and emerge stronger? As she looked at Carmen, the resolve in her eyes felt contagious. They were on the brink, together, pushing boundaries, risking everything. Would the game they were playing turn into something that changed their lives forever? In that charged atmosphere, Jessica was ready to risk it all for the truth. But would Carmen follow, or would the abyss swallow them both? Jessica felt the pulse of the crowd quicken, their energy surging like a tidal wave crashing against the shore. All eyes were on Carmen now. The moment felt electric as anticipation built, stretching the silence until it teetered on the edge of breaking. Carmen took a breath, her expression shifting under the weight of expectation. You want to see what I've sacrificed? She asked, the edges of her voice trembling. Fine. But know this, Jessica, it's not pretty. The murmurs surged again, whispers exchanging fragments of curiosity and dread. Jessica nodded, her own heart pounding in a rhythm against that invisible tension. I'm here for it. Whatever it is. Carmen's gaze faltered for a moment as she surveyed the crowd, each face etched with intrigue and judgment. She swallowed hard, abandoning her stoic demeanor, letting vulnerability seep through the cracks. I lost everything, my trust in people, my ability to open up. Her voice was low and ragged, as if the admission itself was a fresh wound. It all began with him. Who? Someone in the crowd called out, the atmosphere charged, cloaked in heavy suspense. The one I loved most, Carmen choked, her eyes shimmering with unshed emotion. He turned out to be a liar. A fake. I thought I could expose my true self, allow him in, but he manipulated everything. I lost myself trying to be perfect for him. A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Jessica could see the glimmers of recognition in the expressions around her. They understood the depth of betrayal and courage laced in Carmen's words. It wasn't just about regret, it was a warning, a glimpse into the abyss they could all fall into if they weren't careful. Carmen continued, her voice gaining strength. That day, I had everything planned. I was going to confess my deepest fears, just like you did. Instead, I ended up finding out he had another life, a whole other world that didn't include me. The raw pain in her voice struck Jessica harder than any blow. Carmen, I'm so sorry, Jessica breathed, instinctively reaching toward her, but Carmen withdrew slightly, shaking her head. No. This isn't about pity. It's about you and me. It's about trust, Carmen insisted, her voice fierce again. I've built these walls so high, convinced myself they protect me. But maybe, just maybe, they're caging me in. The weight of her confession settled heavily on them, each word a shard of glass that could cut through the illusions they both had lived behind. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was real. Jessica felt the sensation of her own heart cracking, resonating with Carmen's shared sorrow. We can't let these fears hold us back, she implored. You're not alone anymore, Carmen. You have me. For a fleeting moment, Carmen's face softened. But the crowd was shifting, urging for more. Oliver stepped forward again, almost giddy with excitement. All right. So, what do we do with these confessions? The stakes are set, the truths revealed. What's next? Suddenly, the air was thick with unresolved tension. Jessica saw uncertainty flicker in Carmen's gaze, and panic clawed at her chest. Would they step back into the comfort of secrecy, or dive deeper into the vulnerability between them? Carmen's hands trembled, the fear of the unknown etching lines across her face. I want to let you in, Jess, but what if I can't trust again? What if I open that door just to find another shadow lurking? With mounting urgency, Jessica reached out, hoping to bridge the distance. Let's face those shadows together. I'll be there. You won't have to do this alone. A pulse of silence reverberated, and then a single soul in the crowd shouted, You have to choose. Will you leap or hold back? Jessica held her breath, waiting for Carmen's decision. The moment felt monumental, as if everything hinged on that choice. Lights glinted in Carmen's eyes, reflecting inner turmoil. Then it hit Jessica. This was it, the defining moment where fear either shattered them or forged them into something stronger. Carmen stood there for a breathless second, conflict etched deep into her features, before finally whispering, maybe we should just jump. The crowd erupted into a symphony of cheers and gasps, but in the midst of the chaos, Jessica's heart plunged. There was a thrill in this leap, but it was dangerous too. What would they discover at the bottom of this abyss? Would they emerge tightly knit, or would the fall break them apart? Jessica knew one truth now: it was all unfolding, raw and authentic in its unpredictability. And in that charged moment, she realized the game was far from over. The abyss wasn't the only danger to face, there were still secrets waiting to surface, truths buried beneath the weight of choices made in the dark. What lay ahead or behind? Could they reshape their destinies, or were they fated to repeat the past? The crowd's cheers erupted like fireworks, swirling around Jessica and Carmen, but all Jessica could hear was the drum of her heart thundering in her ears. It felt surreal, the excitement and the fear melding into an emotion that threatened to drown her. Could stepping off this precipice actually lead to something profound, or was it just an invitation to more pain? Carmen turned to face Jessica, her eyes shimmering with a mix of hope and dread. What if we dive in and it's worse than we imagine? The words hung between them, taut as a wire ready to snap. Then we'll find a way to swim back up, Jessica replied, desperately trying to inject confidence into her voice. We have to trust that we'll find solid ground again. The murmur of the crowd transformed into a rhythm, something intoxicating that pulled at Jessica. For the first time, she sensed a collective yearning for vulnerability, a craving for connection so profound it sent shivers down her spine. Yet it didn't escape her that outside of those cheers, the lurking shadows were still waiting, patient and cunning. How do we start? Carmen asked, taking a small step closer. Jessica could feel the tremor in her friend's voice, hope battling against the chains of fear that still held her down. The moment felt pivotal, Carmen's courage was hanging by a thread, and Jessica needed to hold it steady. Let us return to our truths, Jessica suggested, emboldened by the thrill of the moment. What if we lay bare our darkest fears for everyone to see? What if we share what haunts us? Carmen hesitated, dread clouding her features, and Jessica felt the pull of anxiety creeping back in. The words had felt easier in her mind, but now, they seemed daunting. She could sense the uncertainty flooding the space between them again. "You first," she urged, unsure if she was leading them toward liberation or doom. A challenge shone in Carmen's eyes, flickering like a candle in the wind. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders, and began to speak. "I fear I'll never be enough. Enough for anyone. That I'll always be left in the shadows, abandoned when it counts." The crowd fell silent, every word holding the weight of universality. Each listener could feel the rawness of Carmen's confession carving through their own hidden insecurities. Jessica couldn't breathe. Carmen's words wrapped around her heart, squeezing it tight. "And I fear that if I let you in, I'll only end up with another broken promise," Jessica admitted, her voice trembling. "I can't go through that again." The crowd shifted, whispers vibrating with the kind of empathy that felt palpable and electric. It was as if everyone was sharing the weight of their fears. Around them, eyes glistened with understanding, the breath of shared human experience binding them in a strange, unbreakable bond. Then, suddenly, a voice called out from the back, one filled with disdain. "You're just playing games. What's the point? You think spilling your secrets will fix everything?" It felt like ice crashing in the warmth. Jessica's heart raced, and she saw Carmen's shoulders tense, fear lighting her features again. Oliver, sensing the shift, took a step forward, but Jessica raised her hand, needing a moment to confront this new shadow. "Maybe it's not about fixing things," Jessica shouted back, her heart pounding. "Maybe it's about embracing what we hide in front of all of you. Maybe that's where the real freedom lies." Carmen looked at her, eyes wide with admiration, and Jessica felt a surge of strength. But would this revelation cause them to explode, or would it draw them closer to the truth they sought? As the crowd fell into an uneasy silence, Jessica felt the weight of those unspoken secrets pressing down like a storm gathering in the distance. What if they weren't ready to face what lay ahead? What if opening the door simply welcomed a flood of new darkness, and there it was again, hanging in the air, an unresolved reckoning? Would they dare to wrestle with the shadows lurking beyond their confessions, or would they retreat back into the safety of silence? The tension danced, crackling like electricity, and just as hope ignited within her, Jessica realized they had only skimmed the surface of what was to come. Secrets still twisted beneath, ready to strike when least expected. What came next would either bind them together or rip them apart completely. As the murmurs subsided and Jessica's words hung in the air like a rolling fog, anticipation swirled around her and Carmen, pressing into the spaces between them. Jessica could feel the weight of countless expectations pressing against her, like a wall of ice. She fought against the urge to recoil, to backtrack, to let fear lead the way once more, but something inside her ignited. This moment, this fragile and terrifying moment, was their chance to redefine everything. "Too many people hide behind glossy facades," Jessica exclaimed, her voice cracking but resolute. "We think success means perfection, but what if it's just about acceptance? Accepting the messiness of being human." Around her, the crowd trembled with a collective breath. She glimpsed familiar faces, their expressions mirroring a multitude of emotions: curiosity, compassion, and a creeping fear of vulnerability. At that moment, Oliver's intense gaze was fixed on her, a mixture of intrigue and amusement dancing in his eyes. "And what happens when those facades come crashing down?" He leaned forward, flame-lit excitement shimmering in his words. "What will you hide behind then?" Jessica glanced at Carmen, who seemed to sense the shift, confusion battling with determination in her eyes. "Maybe that's the point, Oliver," Carmen spoke, her tone sharp yet vulnerable. "If we're stripped bare, we have nothing to lose anymore, only the strength we gain from being real." Oliver's smile faded slightly. The challenge was real, and he shifted, sensing something deeper than entertainment playing out before him. "You think you can wield raw honesty like a shield? There will always be those prepared to strike first. You would be vulnerable, it could leave you exposed." "I want to be exposed," Jessica shouted, the fire raining out of her chest. "Isn't that what we signed up for?" Not just tonight, but in life. The deeper the wounds, the more authentic we become. The noise of the crowd surged again, a ripple of enthusiasm mixing with fear. Carmen, together, Jessica swayed toward her ally, their gazes locking fiercely. Let us create a space for truth. Let us show them it's okay to be imperfect. Carmen inhaled sharply, comprehension dawning, the connection between them stronger than the shadows that once divided them. Then we expose ours, right here, right now. No walls, just raw truth. What do you truly want, Jessica? Jessica's heart raced as she considered what it meant to truly expose herself. I want to be brave enough to own my mistakes. To redefine success away from ambition alone, to celebrate vulnerability instead. The crowd responded with murmurs of approval, sensing the shift from game to communion, from challenge to shared intimacy. But there remained a flicker of animosity from Oliver. And what makes you think the world will embrace you without facade? Jessica stepped past the shadows of her past, her voice steady. What matters is that we embrace ourselves first. We take the leap together, not divided by fear, but united in our truths. Suddenly, a ripple shot through the crowd, calling for the spotlight to refocus on them. Take the leap. Challenge the fears together, someone shouted amidst the chaos, and it ignited something profound in the group. In unity, the crowd pressed closer, their hunger for authenticity palpable. The energy pulsed, shifting the atmosphere like a storm gathering over the horizon. Carmen couldn't hold back now. You all want something real, don't you? She shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. She swept her gaze across the audience, drawing them deeper into the moment. Then let us finally unveil the darkness we've been hiding. Who among us will join in, step forward, and reveal their truths? Jessica's heart thundered as people began to step forward, their bravery igniting a cascade of confessions. A man in a tailored suit revealed the guilt of deception in his relationships, a woman in the back shared her battle with self-worth. One after another, they peeled away their layers, letting vulnerability fill the space around them. They became a tapestry of humanity, weaving strength into the air. As Jessica stood by Carmen, a rush of exhilaration washed over them. Look around, she murmured, feeling the flood of shared stories filling the room. This is so much bigger than just the two of us. Yes, Carmen replied, her face glowing with fierce pride. Together, we just broke the chains. But suddenly, Oliver stepped forward, a resolve tightening his features. Interesting, ladies. But beware of what you've unleashed. The truth is powerful, yes, but it also exposes weaknesses. How will you navigate that? Jessica felt that familiar grip of fear twist in her stomach. He was right, this would lead to consequences. Their truths had the power to reshape relationships, careers, and identities. Maybe, she said, gathering strength, but all strength emerges from forging ahead despite fear. If we show our truths, we liberate ourselves. We leave behind the facade. No more games. The resolution settled in her voice, reverberating through the crowd erupted into applause, the tension shifting into an undeniable wave of celebration, swarming the space enveloping Jessica and Carmen. They had connected deeper than they ever thought possible, drawing everyone into the waters of honesty. Standing united, Jessica felt a fresh wave of hope wash over her. They had taken her call for vulnerability and turned it into more than a challenge, it was a movement. As the crowd surged forward, she caught Carmen's eye. They weren't just allies, they were sisters woven together in truth. Finally, Oliver stepped back, his involvement shifting from puppeteer to witness. You've turned the tide, he admitted, genuine awe dancing in his voice. But onward will test your unity and resolve. You can't waver. You chose to embrace vulnerability, now navigate the currents of fear together. Together. That resonated within Jessica like a promise. With a shared glance, they nodded, feeling the pulse of the crowd energizing them. Change wasn't easy, but this was their lifeline. They were moving forward not just for themselves, but for every person longing to break free from the weight of their own burdens, and as they each embraced this new chapter forged in the abyss of truth, a gentle warmth filled the room, intertwining their fates with those who dared to step forward. Was this just the beginning? Facing the unknown stretched out wide. But they were no longer alone. From that moment on, each heartbeat echoed with the promise of shared strength and an unwavering commitment to become their true selves. The game was over, and life, magnificent and messy, had just begun. Now, don't you dare miss a beat. You need to subscribe now so you won't miss the next thrilling chapter in this unforgettable journey. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm's hunger for these kinds of stories. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how you think Jessica and Carmen's journey will evolve from here. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this inspiring conclusion. Stand together in truth and let us cultivate a community that thrives on authenticity.